Okay, so we have the central line calculation string. Direct lines the highest center interference and position programs. Okay, so there's a solar flare, direct line signals, and position of panel communications. Zero gravity line centers and travel. Okay, so in positional casing lines, directing lines, you flywheel and positional travel communications. So the triangulation of the line connections at all levels of mother is resurfacing to higher levels umbrella. Okay, she was here, and now she's here. All right. So that's positional casing lines of center calculations, 3-line tracks. Your earth perception is here in traction. It's going through tunnel settings and travel. Okay, that's your earth. Okay, so it's got to cross screens into high calculation lines and in position of all levels of space line communication. Okay, so try to understand how this is all working. Okay, symbolizing high position track calculations. Point tracks, all lines in position. Okay, so as it goes through the other side line connections, it travels lines in a 3-line sector, position locations, line signal, modificates centers, lines, and stream locations, directing lines of panels and position walls of ground settings, and travel communications. Right? So comes in a 2-line center in position programs, direct lines of 2 calculation stream locations. Right? So it goes here. It's in the middle now. Right? So for your earth perception to be grounded, the center calculation lines of 0 gravity has to be in track locations in position of time. Okay, very complicated stuff. So the center clock line calculation line centers, okay, is 024 line streams, only and second line communications program. That's 1 lines equals lines of pi and set locations of travel. Okay, projecting lines that communicates and setting to all lines of high calculations. Daughter, how's it going? Okay, so in position location to 0 gravity, this opens all communications to earth lines of center calculation. Okay, ground setting, right? So we set up reverberation channels, direct line calculation of water containments. This has a flow line setting. We set an alpha line and a tone line stream interference in position of Schumann resonance. Grounds the system to its calculation line settings and high calculations. So we have our purple track communication lines of 0 gravities and 3 track line connections. Okay, 4 over lines of 5 position of travel. Now there's position locations into 0 communication, 0 settings, and 0 operation surface and triangulation. Direct lines, communication lines. Okay, now this is where it gets into 3,000 line angles. And its position of tone line, screen setting, position location, or system. Now the track fits correlation high positions opens all calculation setting. And then we go into the ground lines, the growth and setup track lines. Now direct location is a low line frequency pattern. It's a mode and tone, line position travel calculations, 2 lines of track, and 3 calculation streamlines and high setting, all levels of operation surface. And then we come into the electric grid sets, which is green line circle. We set lines of all calculation inhibitors, line rotation centers, compressors, into atmosphere lines, changes positions, flux capacitor, changes direct line calculation setting to your earth perception screen. It's all communication setting to your travel calculations. Now the energized communication streamlines sets the security panels across in line position locations all over the programs. 1 signal line communications. So we take the 0 into 2, lines of 4 into 1 equals lines of correlation setting. Take out the separation, add a line, circle line rotation. So the lines have position locations all levels to infinity 8, high position travel. Okay. So this is exactly what's happening now in tractions, right? With mother and position travel calculations. Her alpha tones are delta theta, it's coming into alpha, omega, and micro macro. The direct lines of communication setting. Position location, earth line, in position of space. Right line track, left line setting. Okay. Center communication is open panels. Now this comes into these applications to your systems. Now when it comes into all levels, this is how you come to correlation panel communication. Very complicated stuff. So you have water containment line centers to earth, sets communication streams, direct lines, position all levels. Now this is where you have the ground line center, position travel calculations. Point systems and tracks. Okay, so we've got 3,000 line hours, 6,000, 9,000, 12. Now set location line centers and waiting signal for 6 a.m. line position initiate and run program in a 24 cycle. That puts position of travel calculations back in center. The operation service location system to earth perception line, will go right through the position location of simulation and ground settings to its operation surface, its applications. Okay? That's my equation. All right. So as that in sequence, in position of panels, we stay with the ground centers. Okay? So Mother Earth is transforming her line screen into umbrellas and position travel calculations. Point systems and 3 tracks in position of 4 tracks, or provision line cycles and height calculation. Now, direct line communication setting opens all communications, right? Colorations of 2 patterns, okay, and 2 sublocations, okay? Direct lines communication, trying to find the balance with you guys in your flywheel and position of travel calculation, right? So it gets complicated, so you have to send direct signals. So bracket communication lines of 0 gravity, 0 position, and 0 grounds as applications. All right, 3 track lines. 1 signal, 3 line positions, all levels, and track line connections in position. Okay. Side lines, high travels, direct in communication programs. Okay. Centered communication lines, central lines in position, center communication to grounds, and center communication of space and magnetic line screens as that position operation. All right. Now the operation line sets high positions calculations. So the Earth is here. I'm showing you exactly where it's going to be in position after it goes. Line species lines of pause, calculation of 6 a.m. and travel calculation. There's your Earth. Right? So your Earth lines it rotates and sets the opposite direction. Sets communication lines. Sets another line communication. Now it goes through a black hole. Black hole center lines its communication of travel settings. Goes to the open sequence line to the other side position of travel calculations. Right? Kaleidoscope lines of 2 tracks and a 3-line position location measure. Okay. So as it's going through measure line communication, the center communication setting into all levels. 2 lines, 3, and center position 4, and 4 line connection to 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and track lines comes into its high position. Mother Earth full comes in her communication streamlines of her solar sail in line connection. Okay, done by equation. Okay. So once you get into those line screens, you have to really understand how to use the plasma grid set location. So again, here's the Earth line, rotating surface, accumulate high positions, going through its tunnel. Okay, in line conditions. All right. So, like I said, it's got to go to right line screen, left line position. Okay, and then it surfaces out in center calculations. All right, and then it basically time jumps. Right, and through a black hole and line settings and track locations. So it sets positions back in center into another tube set location. All right. So it's really interesting how the Earth perception screen state has a plasma seal. Box lines, theta line rotators. Line connections are 3 box locations. All right. Travel position locations, line system 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 set locations. Right. Box line centers. Okay. So its center lines is communication. Once it goes here. Okay, does a half pipe and line signal, okay, in position across line connections, right? So it does an oval screen and a face recognition of pi in line position location of solar screen set locations. That equation, okay? So the center communication setting is instructions, understanding open sequence, open panels. The direct-to communication system is time locks. Now the fly communication setting, okay, is the fly time centers and travel and position location operation. Line communication setting and position location your systems, right? Sys locations, all right? See it in all wave and line screens. All right, so position line is box line. Electrical communication setting at 4 track lines of data highways and position locations into 6 centers. Okay, so we got point lines and track lines, okay? 6 position locations of data highways. Okay, so send lines, cross lines, centers lines of 8, and positions of 10. 10 lines, 11, and 12 set locations and travel. Okay, sets lines of 0 gravity in an 8-line center, 8 positions, 8 lines, 8 grounds, 8 surface, 8 balance, 8 side lines, and 8 center communications, and 8 position location of flywheel. Okay. So that's how Mother Earth is setting up her correlation panels and her direct signal location of size graph activity. Her direct signals to 8 lines of communication lines, a space line, a time sequence, has to be balanced in her flywheel communication stream. So in direct signals and dislocation line centers, so we take 888 and 3-track line connections. This is what creates the position location when setting the plasminogen force triangulation position programs. Center calculation lines into the left lines of space at 888 in position locations come into the cosmic universal line screen in direct signal. Now, as you use 11 and 12, we use 2 panels in communication setting that travel. Direct lines of 2, sets lines equals lines of 2, equals lines of 2, 2 line centers and 2 track locations into a diamond core shift line screen set location. Now in direct lines, it comes into its position location of center calculations and all levels and high position locations in channel communication of center to its calculation. Okay. Now, as you get in position location 8 lines, triangulation high positions program, the connections of the umbrella center lines its ether in core settings of its Earth perception screen. Half pi split the lines in 3 sectors. Direct lines of calculation of 6, 7, and 8 position of travel. Now, in position location of center calculations, we set up the 0 position of programs in center calculation. Okay. Now, direct line calculation line interference, we have the laser direct signals and split the anomalies in 3-track locations. Okay. Sonifies communications. Alpha line, I got a delta cross, my calculation setting into delta heading, and position cosmos in my position of travel. Okay. Center lines is communication, crosses lines, and 3-track locations. All right. Platform communications are 1, 2, 3, 4. She automatically goes to the dimension door screen and 3 pi's in position of travel calculations, a point center. Okay. So it's all about, the levitating screen settings into her perception screen line, because it's not like this anymore, guys. There's no separation with her system, right? So she's platituding into higher line screen, into her cerebral cortex setting. Okay. Okay, so this is a plasminogen force channel. Okay, it's very powerful. Position all levels of calculation. All right. So recognizing that communication lines, once it comes in position location, her face changes the lines of calculations of time. The center line and position of its operation surface sets lines of sands of time and position of balance in set location. Okay. All right. So not exactly how the set lines and 2-track lines position to its operation surface is the compute system of travel. Okay, travel reference I line centers, position of graph lines and 2-track lines in position locations. Right, I center line communications in 3 settings. Okay, direct lines of I line rotation surface in 3 centers, position line connection high position location 4 center locations. All right, symbolism 1, 2, 3 in track locations. Direct lines of 1, 2, 3, 4 in set locations, right? Platform communications, here's the umbrella, right? Her levitation ground line is this level now and set position her operation surface and triangulation. Okay. So it's amazing when you all see this in line connections, how it's all set up. All right. So prevent tactics, same line calculation setting. So we got 2 screen, 3 screen, 1 screen, and 0 screen location. Okay. Now we got an XT 8800 line screen, and we got an XT 45 line 100 screen, and we got an XT 3300 line screen, and we got an XT 100,000 line screen in 4-track locations. Now, directing to communication setting is knowing exactly how to set the position location of center calculation. All right. Getting in that position location, you take the 2-line screen setting the 0 gravities and position location is center to its communication. All right. Now, getting in that position locations, you cross the settings into a graphical calculation of a road. Now, that road symbolizes position travel lines, 2 panels of communications. Okay. Now, this directs positions of panels goes in this way in traction and set location. Okay. So XT thousands can cross signals on both side locations of expansion and set position to its operation. Okay. Coming in all ways and forms, guys. You have to really understand how to get in the weighted signals when you come into your echo chambers and directions of your panels of communication at center. All right. Come in all ways and forms. right? So the mind lines, the conscious stream interference, the galactic hub, the position location at space command centers, the freights, position locations, the command centers, the triangulation position program location setting is coming into all levels of a new highway stream. Now, this direct signal location settings coming into all calculations, of center. Okay? Very powerful stuff in set locations. Right? So getting that in position line condition settings and all level travel lines, you have to really understand how to identify what's going on with Mother Earth and track locations. Right? How she's going to a higher line setting so she can get to her cerebral of her pi. Okay, platforms of 5 set location lines. So she's just trying to get the grounds with you guys. She's trying to get the balance with your flywheel where you are in position of programs. Direct lines of communications of data highways, Omni highways, central highways, okay, garden highways. There's all communications of 15 highways located connection setting in mind of consciousness, guys. Every time you open up the dimensional door line, you open up a high position of travel calculations. Higher levels of communication of expansion is location of travel, right? Panel communication lines. So that's why the position of space line has to be paused, because the central calculation line is going to put everybody in a communication setting and travel. That puts everybody in the software mechanisms. As the team comes in, the flash drive sets lines of flash. Okay, now flash line communications sets lines of travel. Okay, sets communication centers. So we got program settings, levels of communication, atom line center interference, systematic lines and all position H lines and high position travel calculations. Direct lines of communications. Okay, so they're going to be in flash of time and center calculation. Okay, so you have to disappear, but I'll show you exactly how it is in systems of travel. Platforms. So you guys will be going through dimensional door screens and high calculation streamlines. Okay, now in that direct line centers, you're coming back in track lines of 1, 2, 3, and 4 line position of travel. Putting position locations. All right, so space line communication is here and travel calculations. Standing on point view, standing on point view, and standing on point view and pause. The ground side locations, right? You guys are above the signal. So you come in here in travel communications, getting in modification line cycles, high calculation, right? So as the platforms get in high calculations, once they get a 24 line signal, they come in a position location at travel settings and direction. Direct line center interference. Your position locations, your sun and your moon is going to change line connection directions in travel communications. Right? Same with the communication of space line. Space line are a 3 million waving line rotation surface in tunnels of communication of programs and direct signal and settings of realms and port of communication line settings and position locations of face recognition. Okay, see, face recognition. All right. So getting the communication lines of data ops, the Omni highways, high position location, interdimensional lines of scales really starts identifying everything around you. But you understand the process of mind and how it works through its own clock line condition setting. How Mother Earth is reaching higher calculation lines on correlation, directing her positions of her cerebrals, her thoughts, her placebos, her cortex, her design, her image, right? So that's its applications, guys. Mother Earth and Father Space have to come back to their image line screens. Now your connections all levels, which is your grandmother and your grandfather. That position location is because you're created through an image. And like I said before, you have to really understand how to use the alpha, mega, micro, macro that sets position to its location centers of attraction. That opens all signals in position location or settings, right? So that's why the spacing lines have to be in position location of pause for the 3-month line screen in Earth perception screen settings in adaptation surface in high position location. Okay? All right. So you really want to start recognizing everything through platforms, okay? Because it's going to open up all levels. Now, position lines are the 7 sealments, alpha line, rotation, surface, and triangulation, high calculation position of programs, okay? Position locations, center set lines, calculation setting, okay? Then you got the ether core, you got the umbrellas, but you got waving line, center location of 4 attractions, the high setting. All right, so setting line condition levels actually comes in and position travel. Crosses line symbol and line connection high center, okay? Sets into our levels, into a black hole. Center lines is communication setting in position location of system, okay? Travel calculation lines sets up a tube line, okay? Calculation line interference sets lines of platforms in direct line conditions of 3, crosses line of 1 in set locations, right? Symbolism and lines of tracks, another black hole, but on the opposite line stream interference in track location of center to its position, okay? So this is exactly what's going to be happening. You have to understand the vision of cortex of design. You have to understand the life story of your line setting, right? Because the calculations of father and mother have a story. You have a story. So the position locations of Mother Earth is trying to find the way you balance your system so she gets a better understanding where you are in the mind of consciousness. Same thing with Father. Father's trying to find the balance where you are in your mind, where it comes into your cortex 9, your cerebros. Now, the mystical cortex that designs center lines its communications to its balanced screen in high position of travels and 2 centers and travel in position locations to another calculation line centers of round position. Okay, very complicated stuff in its applications. All right, so I'm just showing you exactly what is happening. Okay, yeah, it's way advanced. Well, as you can see, the technology screens, right? Off the data highways. You guys have to learn to know exactly where your thoughts are going. That's where they go. Okay, they travel, right? So, and you have the 60,000 that are distributors, and they pick up the image. And what they do is they store it in your location of your moon, so you can get it recording device line screen, setting locations, input, audio input, and position location your centers and tractions. This puts all levels of open signal location centers in computer adaptation. Now, the computer adaptation line screens sets positions calculations, right? So you guys are electrical line condition of a box. Okay, you have a circuitry settings and positions operation. So you have to really understand how to use your data streams, set location of cerebros, set locations. Okay, so drawing these out gives you a better understanding how to go through line position locations and travel through dimensions. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay. I see those through streams in the phone camera. Yeah, I know. Well, like I said, they just get more complicated. But complicated is good because it easy lines its communication. So again, all what's happening in position locations, everything has to go back in its original design. So in track lines and set location line centers, Mother Earth is levitating to higher lines of surface. Her plasma set location line center is now released. So she's trying to recognize where you are in your grounds of operation, guys. Okay, and that's what causes the effect. And anything like seismograph activity, discharge communications, you know, are you getting your EMFs in balance? Are you balancing your lines? Are you putting your force field and energy fields up? You know, it's keeping aware of everything, you know, because everything is watching you and you're watching everything that you see. And same thing, locations when it comes into farther space, trying to find out where you are in the mind, right? In space, where you are through your planets. Are you understand where your solar systems? Are you standing in the adaptation service? Are you understanding what a location grid does in set locations? Are you understanding the travel settings? Are you understanding the position location of realms and travel communications? Are you understanding how to go through a location grid? Are you understanding 2 panels and position your earth line calculations, setting the stream locations? How to go from this position to this line connections, traveling in this way communications, traveling in this way communications, traveling in this way communications, right? That's all this is. You have to really understand how to identify yourself. So getting that position locations puts you all levels of the highway set location of travel. Okay. It's amazing when you come into that set locations. All right, so in position of bracket lines, 2 0 calculation lines, 1 position of pi in travel. Okay, triangulation reset position of programs. Okay, perception, and we got equals lines of compute, sand line, cross line, streamline, condition of 6 equals lines of 1. So that's 12, okay, over the power. Triangulation high position program locations of box line, equals line communication, triangulation high position location is CPU, and travel communications. Okay, that's all set up. That my question. All right, so don't worry about that because there's nothing to worry about setting. It's just travel calculation. Getting lines of formula is a point lines of track, 3 communication of 4 lines high position. Arrows of indicators and travel. Point lines of track communication centers. Okay, direct lines communication lines across the streams in position what's above, what's below those locations. in calculations, and all levels of your flywheel. Okay, so that's all it is. Balancing your scales in your Schumann resonance so it doesn't kilter off calculation setting in position of calculation. Okay, it's got to be balanced on both sides, right? So it's like a teeter-totter. It's like, trying to balance out the wire contained stream interference. So you got the north lines, east, you got the west, and you got the south communications. So that's one lines of 2, one lines of 3, and one lines of 4. So that's position of 111, 112, and 113, and 114. Summer, spring, winter, fall is now in position of balance. I'm trying to calculation stream locations. Center calculation line setting positions calculation. Okay. So hopefully you guys get a better understanding of what's going on through track locations now. Okay. All right. So connections of plasma C line screens, direct lines of communication, tunnel line, crosses line setting, crisscross communications, cross line settings and travel. Okay. Point line settings, 3 tracks. The Earth is going through all communication, right? Center calculations and flywheel and direct signal. Okay. So in that line calculation setting, crosses line system, Earth and space, right? Sets lines of communications, opens up portals, rounds, and wormholes into application. Now, directing line calculation line crosses line symbol in a 6-waving pattern in a Fibonacci line swirl into application. Now, direct communication line centers position locations calculations. Okay, now in line calculation, this is where nebula comes in application. Okay, nebula comes in, all right? So what nebula does, crosses line symbols, because you guys are now in a 24 line setting, 24 position, and 24 calculations. And direct signal, clocking, okay, directs lines of communication of panels. Now, position location centers. Now, in that track line calculation setting, comes into a position of a tube. That tube line centers its cross lines, Mother Earth and Father Space of its applications, balance. One center line communications. The particle accelerator travels line settings from this application to this applications, upline signals and track lines. Calculation high position location of nebula, clocks the system lines travels. Now in direct line communication, it goes through an X line setting rotation surface, triangulation. Now direct communication lines crosses lines of symbols and set location of travel calculations. Okay, very complicated stuff. Very complicated. All right, so that's what's happening, right? Knowing exactly what's happening with your Earth and your space. That's all it is. It's all set design locations. You guys are coming back to your image of yourself, which is multiple levels of communications, but the brain conversion has to understand itself first. So in that track lines in communication settings, okay, so you have one signal, bracket calculation hangers, zero gravity, sets locations in back setting like connection all levels. 2 compute systems that travels 1 over pi. Triangulation reset position programs, 1 lines of 2 in line position travel calculations. Now direct communication lines, sets all communications in platforms in 3 centers and 4 track locations. Okay, so the electrical fuse and the box and travel calculation comes in high setting. So this is energetic wave patterns and server lines and application travel calculations. Direct lines are 3 line signature application. Okay. Now the wall circuits line position of panels crosses line symbol and direct cases into wave and line cycles. Setting travel calculation lines at point centers into your pi into dimensional door screens and application of measure. Okay, see the doors? So setting a position location line centers platitudes in position location at 3 tracks. See the 3 tracks of the cross line signal. Sets position of platforms, sets line and communication levels, higher levels of channels, higher levels of communication, higher levels of high calculation of conscious systems application. Okay, so the electrical fuse box line signals, panel communication lines of data upstreams into your IME highways, higher levels of division, higher levels of communication, interdimensional line conditions, all levels, but it's all communications of data stream in position of balance center calculation. Okay, very complicated stuff. All right, so complicated. All right, so the dimensional door line screens sets lines of communications and also have connections. Right. So you analyze at 24 in position 48 and line 72 and 144. You get all this in 4 panels and communications into a platform in traction of a crop circle set location. That's all it is. 24, 48, 72, 144 comes into a crop circle. What goes above? Pi. What goes in the pi? Dimensional line scale. What goes in the scale? Communication. Dimensional door. What goes in the door? Locking sequence. What goes in the locking sequence? A cloud. What goes in the cloud? Ground setting, position, establishment platforms. Direct lines communication setting, or level calculation setting to get you in position to its cloud of line high position of its program of the brain convergent set lines and communication surface and the modems and high calculation line system and travel calculations. Done by equation. Very complicated stuff. See? Center calculation line setting, right? In position. There's the test right. Okay. So, yep, big downloads. All right, so that's everything's happening in all set locations, right? When you go through the 3 months. So I'm showing you exactly what's happening. So you get an initial point in direct signal on a day set location of initiation of running settings into your system, putting all levels of defaults back in its original design in set locations. Okay. Yep. Well, you're going to feel it in position line track lines, guys. So you have to really start recognizing your formulas, equation settings now and travel all through the location system. Okay. Adding the equation lines. All right. So nebula. Okay. The nebulants are now in balance of 24, 24, 24. Past, present, future is not one cycle. It's set position of the earth line. Travel calculation lines of the equation. Okay. That's all set up. Knowing exactly what's understood is being understanding in position lines of balance to your flywheel of attraction. Is balancing the levels of communications and set location. Getting the grounds first with your set locations of your earth, guys. Your earth. Okay? Getting the grounds, human resonance, balance position alpha, delta, theta. Right? Getting communications in your magnetic highway, your cloud line, rotation centers, high position modems, set lines, communication, and location. Right? Skyline, sky grids, sky centers. So there's a lot of communication setting that's coming in high track locations. One per vision line cycle, one line directions. Right? 2 platforms in opposite line cycles. Communication to grounds, grounds, grounds set location. Right? It's getting communication. This is your earth that you've got to get grounds with. Okay? It's crazy because you have to understand Merkaba would be over here, right? Or your Merkaba is over here. So that's where you balance. You're trying to balance out here, right? You got your balance here, but then you waved over here because you had a motion line track. So don't do it. Okay? That's it. We're done. That's it. Okay? So I'm showing you exactly what's going on with your provision cycles and applications, your settings of travel. Okay? Anything more will be discussed on applications. All right? Adios.